Hi guys! The new game called Expedition 33 will be released soon, and let's check the final preview.
Years ago, a mentor told me that the most important part of any story is surprise. A few years later, a writer I deeply respect wrote that perhaps the difference between good and great writing is technique, though even that was probably not as important as conviction. But what keeps us invested in a story is curiosity, the gap between what we know and what we need to know, the questions that drive us. Combine all three, and you tend to create something special. Each and every one of us has played a game that grabbed us from the jump, that connected with us in some unexpected way, a game that surprised us, whose belief in itself was obvious from the first frame, that made us want to explore. I have played a lot of video games, friends, and that feeling is increasingly rare for me, especially in the AAA space. So when I tell you that Clair Obscur Expedition 33 grabbed me by the throat from the jump and didn't let go for a single second of the 3.5-hour demo I played twice, believe me when I tell you, that's some powerful magic.
Expeditioners, we do not take for granted
That makes me
that you
excited.
dedicate your final year of life to keeping hope alive for all of Lumiere.
If you're unfamiliar, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has a pretty fascinating setup. See, there's this being called the Paintress, and every year she paints a new number. When she does, every person of that age dies. Poof, vanishes, turns to dust. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. And the thing is, she's counting down. Every year, the people dying get younger, so every year the people of Lumiere send a volunteer expedition of people with 1 year left to live on a desperate, impossible, doomed mission to go to the continent across the sea and kill the Paintress, so she can never paint death again.
You battle the Paintress. Know that Lumiere
Why would
fights
she
with you.
paint
You'll
that
find
though?
journals from Expedition 84, so if you can do the math in your head, you'll get how desperate this whole thing is and how young, but still older than the average RPG protagonist, your characters are.
Learn from the ones who came before.
And lay the trail for the ones who come after.
Things get weirder once your crew lands on the continent. They almost immediately run into an old man who nearly dispatches the whole expedition single-handedly. You play as Gustav, one of the survivors, traumatized and alone, walking through countless corpses from other expeditions and his own. He's about to shoot himself when he's found by Lune, another member of the expedition.
You do that, we both die.
She's not blind
The
to
game looks
reality. They're probably
amazing.
both going to die, but expedition members swear an oath.
When one falls, we continue.
As long
And
as
the
one of them
story
stands,
looks
their fight isn't
very
over.
good too.
Lune and Gustav clearly care about one another, but they don't always get along. When they find an unsigned message indicating another member of Expedition 33, Mael, might still be alive, Gustav wants to drop everything and try to save her, and then get out of Dodge. Lune is worried that the whole thing is a trap. Expedition members are always supposed to sign their messages.
We have to go.
No. Not yet.
At one point, later on, Lune asks Gustav if he's a coward because
So
he
there's
just
gonna
wants to
be
get Mael and
magic?
get out. He's not. He's just dealing with watching almost everyone he knows die. And Lune, she's the one that said they should land on that beach in the first place. Neither one of them has it easy. These characters are adults, and they're written like it.
Come on, we always said the future of Lumiere is more important than
Any individual life, yes.
Do you still believe that?
Some adults
They
in
don't
games,
always agree,
finally.
dealing with guilt and loss and trauma, and they're not always kind to one another in the heat
I'm
of the moment.
excited.
But they care about each other, and at the end of that exchange, once they've calmed down, they share a laugh.
The mission. Really?
Compelling characters are complex and flawed, and Expedition 33 seems to understand that.
Sorry.
Even if they weren't, Expedition 33 could probably skate by on the world. My demo was fairly linear. There were branching
Ooh.
paths with hidden grapple points,
Okay,
platforming,
linear.
goodies, and secrets to find, and tough optional bosses to take on. But this isn't an open world game, and it's better for
Okay,
it.
yeah.
Expedition 33 reminds me of Final Fantasy X. These environments may be linear, but they're gorgeous, whether you're standing atop a hill looking at the indigo tree, or both underwater and somehow not. Expedition 33 is a visual feast, and I stopped in every environment I
Yeah.
entered to marvel at the
Very
beauty
beautiful.
and composition on display. There's even a world map you traverse to get from place to place, like the RPGs of old.
This will be useful.
What really hooked me, however, was the combat. Clair Obscur may be turn-based, but it's not a
Oh, it's
DVD menu.
turn-based.
There's a lot of depth here. Every character has a melee and ranged attack, the latter of which must be aimed manually.
Oh, that's
Melee attacks build
interesting.
AP,
I didn't
and
expect
ranged attacks spend
turn-based.
it. You'll also need AP for skills,
Huh.
unique attacks that each character has in their arsenal. And on top of that, each character has a particular attribute. Gustav can use certain skills to build up stacks of overcharge, which he can spend to cash out for a devastating
didn't
attack.
expect
Lune's
it to
spells
be
grant elemental stains that can supercharge her
turn-based.
other spells for additional effects and damage. And my favorite, Mael, you do rescue her. This isn't a spoiler, she's in Clair Obscur's trailers. Can switch between 3 different stances, offering buffs to attack, AP generation, and defense.
kinda looks like
Managing your
Persona.
AP, setting up a big combo, and planning ahead matters. Like FF10, the turn order is displayed on the left side of the screen, so you can plan every turn in advance, but strategy is only half the battle. The other half is moment-to-moment execution. You don't just
okay.
choose an option and wait for canned animation to
Okay,
play
okay,
out.
like
When an enemy attacks you, you can
Yakuza like a
dodge, parry,
dragon.
or jump to avoid it. Dodging avoids attacks, while
From
parrying
what I
nets you a
played.
potentially huge counterattack and awards AP, but has a tighter window. Sometimes the only way out is to jump over something. Sure, you can engage in the time-honored tradition of blocking with your face, but the harder fights are going to force you to engage with these defensive mechanics. And if you parry an attack that hits your whole squad, all of them strike back in a beautifully choreographed counterattack
Wow.
that never gets old. Early on, I ran into a very powerful enemy who could kill my characters in a single hit. But the thing was, he had to hit me. If I could parry him, I could win. It took me a couple tries on my first run. He had a tricky attack that forced me to parry or dodge twice in a row, but once I figured out I could parry the first hit and dodge the second, I managed to take him down.
okay, GG's.
Then there's the back-end stuff called Pictos and Luminas. You can equip up to 3 Pictos to any
I
character,
really like the
which
character
provides
design.
buffs, like
The
shooting this
character
enemy
design
might
is
light them
amazing.
on fire, or attacks do more damage, or killing an enemy grants more AP, as well as stat upgrades. Win enough battles with a Picto equipped, and you can have everyone else
this
equip
one,
its
this
effects,
character
minus
looks so
the stat
beautiful. Oh my
bonuses.
God.
And this is where you can do some really degenerate stuff. Sure, Mael has a skill that puts her in Virtuo's stance, where she does 200% damage, if she uses it while an enemy is burning. Normally, you'd have to have somebody use another skill to set this up. But what if you gave Gustav and Lune a Lumina that means their ranged attacks are likely to set enemies on fire? Or maybe you equip a Picto that cranks up your base attack damage, or that awards more AP for nailing a parry, allowing you to stay on the offensive longer than you'd normally be able to. Then you're cooking with gas. Combine all of that, and battles offer a lot of interesting choices. If someone's low on health, do you spend an item or AP to bring them back up, or do you bet it all on dodging or parrying the next attack? How do you level up your characters? Who gets what skill as a Picto so they can stack the right stats and they don't have to spend Lumina points to get that effect? And on it goes. And through it all, Expedition 33 is constantly finding new ways to make itself
Okay.
interesting. What's a Gestrel, and why is Lune obsessed with them? Who is the Paintress, and what does she want? Why is the world the way that it is?
Yeah,
Are all these
what's
beings
wrong with
actually
the
hostile?
Paintress?
Some of them seem pretty friendly, and you have the option to fight them or leave them alone. What's the deal with that old man? How does any of this stuff work? In my demo, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 didn't stop to explain itself, and I appreciated that. It trusted me to figure things out, and I was more invested in what was going on as a result. Most importantly, I could never predict what would happen next. By the time "Thank you for playing" came up on my screen at the end of my demo, I was thoroughly hooked. On my second run-through, I found even more hidden areas, and laid the smackdown in one of the optional fights that had flummoxed me the first time around. When my time with Clair Obscur Expedition 33 was up, I wasn't ready to stop. I wanted to fight more battles, learn more about the world, and spend more time with these
The
characters.
world is very nice.
Sandfall Interactive is a new studio,
Those-
but you'd never know this was their first
It is
game
very
from playing it.
Nicely
Surprise, conviction, curiosity. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 nails all 3.
I had no idea that the game is turn-based, which is very interesting. I haven't played turn-based games since Yakuza Like a Dragon, and I think the combat is a little bit similar, where it's turn-based, but there are some, you need to think of some timing to actively just hit the button for like super attack or something like that. So yeah, please let me know in the comments what did you think. And I will see you on my channel. Please like and subscribe and stay awesome and hydrated, and bye bye.